Hi, welcome to Edward Box Guitar Tuition. So my classic album inspection today is Blue Murder. This album was released 24th of April 1989. It's 35 years old today. Blue Murder is of course the three-piece band fronted by John Sykes of Tigers of Pantang, Thin Lizzy and of course Whitesnake fame, with the great Tony Franklin on bass and the superb Carmen Apache on drums. So a little bit of a story about this is when Sykes was given the boot from Whitesnake. Allegedly, he'd actually gone in Geffen's offices and said, "Oh, Coverdale's done, I'm Whitesnake now," because obviously Dead Coverdale had throat problems, I think, something like that. He got together with Franklin and Apache. I think Ainsley Dunbar was in the running on drums, it says. And Ray Gillan of Badlands fame was the original vocalist. But I think Sykes had done demos with his vocals. Apparently John Kolodner, the Geffen executive, wasn't too happy with Gillan's vocals. God knows why. Preferred Sykes's. They actually had Tony Martin join the band, and then he went to Black Sabbath. He was about to go out to Vancouver. They were going to with Bob Rock to record it, but then they persuaded Sykes to do the vocals. So the first thing I should say, I think Sykes' vocals are superb on this album. He's got like tone, he's got great range. He does a really good job. The overall sound of the album is very bombastic. Obviously, it's got the kind of 1987 raucous guitars. The drum sound is huge. And it's very much of its time. I like the production. I must admit, the master the copy I've got on Rock Candy, I don't think the masterings, I don't think I've caught it quite right. I listened on YouTube before to the track Ptolemy, and I thought it sounded better on my computer, which isn't great. First thing about this album, it's 52 minutes long. It's quite long, it's quite epic. At this time, there was several bands attempting to get back to the kind of 70s, or there was talk that they would. Blue Murder was possibly one. Lynch Mob was the other one, and Badlands was the other one. It was only Badlands that did it fully. Yeah, you can hear some 70s influence on this, but the image of the band, the videos and the production is not 70s at all, and the same with Lynch Mob. But it's got a special place in my heart, this album. I'll tell you that obviously it was released April 24th, 1989, so April 25th is my birthday, so that was my 18th birthday. So I bought this album on the day of release. I must have listened to it. I probably taped it off flatmate's hi-fi so I could listen to it on my Walkman, and I think that weekend I travelled down to my relatives in the Midlands and actually listened to it on the train down. But what I distinctly remember about that is I went out for a meal for my birthday. But I also had my first kind of proper band practice with my originals band I was in. We didn't do, it wasn't anything like that when we started off, and then we had a little gig booked and we were going to do a few songs, instrumentals. So my intention was to, when I went down on the train, and I got the train back early from being down in the Midlands, and went to an all-night band practice. We practiced from like 10 at night to 6 in the morning. I don't suggest that, but anyway. The gig was a disaster, suffice to say, but it was the start of the first band I was in, and we tried some other ideas. Eventually we got a singer, and we did proper gigs, so that took about 10 months. But anyway, so I listened to this album on the train on the way down, the way back, so, back then it probably took 3 hours to get there and back, so it must have had a good 6 or 7 spins. And I loved it, and I still do, although I can see there's some issues with it. So let's go through the tracks. Obviously recorded at Little Mountain Studios in Vancouver, Mike Fraser engineered it, Bob Rock producing. This is before Bob Rock did Dr. Feelgood and then the Black Album, which really sent him over the top in terms of being a massive producer. So initial pressings actually the 10th track of Cold Harbour. That just seems to be an instrumental. Maybe that's the prelude to Ptolemy, I think. But anyway, it got really good reviews, this album. It opens with Riot. It's written by John Sykes. Virtually all the tracks. This is 6 minutes 22, so I think a lot of these songs are quite long intros, and Riot has, what you notice on this, there's that little Tony Franklin fretless lick. It really takes advantage of Tony Franklin's abilities on the fretless bass, and it actually gives it a unique spin. Franklin lays down a big bottom end on this, and Apache, he's got a big drum sound. I think everyone overplays it in a good way on this album. It's a 3-piece that's got space. It's got tons. It's a huge album. Your first thing with this cool riff, great guitar sound. Sykes vocals really good. Great lead break on this. I mean, Sykes is pushing on from his Whitesnake 87 work. And you know, there's debate whether his solo's better on this or on that, but he plays up a storm. Love this track, great. The next track I would say is, maybe it's not the weakest track, but the lyrics, it's Sex Child. The lyrics are the lyrical equivalent of the front cover of the original Virgin Killer pressing by Scorpions. We'll say that baby, your loving is a driving me insane. The middle bit says, ooh, little schoolgirl. And it does like a breakdown, like a whole lot of love, you know, with sort of atmospheric noise. And John Sykes screams, ooh, little schoolgirl. And then he says, mean mistreating mama. So how, like, someone of school age can be a mean mistreating mama, I don't know. But either way, it's all, like, you'll have to, you know, go and have a shower after you've listened to it. That aside, the song is catchy. You know, it's got a cool riff, a crazy solo. Again, 5 minutes 51. It may be a bit long, you know. This is the kind of track where could this not be 4 minutes? Next up's Valley of the Kings. This is 7 minutes 51. It's epic. It's got an epic intro. It's actually co-written by Tony Martin, so maybe did the lyrics. This was a single, which, you know, it's probably a mistake. It's too long to be a single, and then they didn't put the proper push on other things. I think there's an argument, you know, the songs are maybe a bit too long to have proper single success. But anyway, Valley of Kings is great. It's got a cool wah-wah solo. Really good. Great vocal by Sykes. And a great ending outro with top lead guitar. Just really good. I mean, this album's got lots of extra guitar parts on. It's got lots of vocal harmony. The keyboards are good on this. I'm not sure who plays the keyboards. Probably John Webster additional keyboards, it says, Nick Green keyboards. You know, it's a superb track. And then it finishes with Jelly Roll, which has got a really cool sort of acoustic line. This was like the second single. Yeah, maybe this could have been a hit, but it's still an unusual song. It's got like this kind of bluesy sort of country rock intro, but then it goes into this kind of more epic power ballad thing with epic soloing. I seem to remember on the video, Sykes is kind of bare-chested playing a solo in the rain with massive hair. You know, we hadn't seen Sykes for a long time, if you remember, because he did the Slide It Into and he did the remix and he's in the videos for that. Then the 1987 album took so long, and then Sykes wasn't on the video on the tour. So, you know, he's actually hadn't kind of appeared kind of physically for sort of 4 years. But Jelly Roll's a great track. Then you've got Blue Murder, the title track. This has got a really, really cool riff, kind of sleazy riff. Apache and Franklin write this as well. Top solo, he does his sort of classic lick on this. You know, not one of the stronger tracks, but it's good. Then you got Out of Love. This is the epic power ballad, 6 minutes 44. So it differs from something like Is This Love? It's in that vein, but it's kind of epic. It's something kind of missing from rock now, the epic power ballad, you know. And they pull it off on this. It's got beautiful lead guitar on this. He does lovely stuff on this, very tasteful. I know John Sykes isn't always the most tasteful player, which is what I kind of like about him. You know, if he's going to do a pinch harmonic, he's going to track it like 5 times and go woo 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 woo. And he does that on this album. He does his like police siren woo 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 woo. So that's it's a great track though. Really like it. Then you got Billy. This is the shortest track on the album. It's 4 minutes 12, so it's still over 4 minutes. This has kind of got a Phil Lynott vibe on the lyric. Again, I like this track. Maybe not my favourite, but it's good. Then one of my favourite tracks, Ptolemy, 6 minutes 30. I think this is a track where it's got like that intro, which I think might have been called Cold Harbour on the vinyl, one of the original US pressings. This has got an evil riff. It's just fucking evil. Really good. I quite like the lyrics on this, kind of little story lyric in Egyptian times. He does kind of insane solo. And it's got a long kind of fade out, sort of in the kind of Kashmir vein. Really like it. And then you've just got a belting track to finish. Sykes just unleashing his kind of Children of the Night Part 2 riff called Black Hearted Woman. It's better though. Cheesy lyrics, but really, you know, that kind of Aussie kind of riffing. He does some great ooh babies on this. Lovely bridge on this with some kind of scooped whammy bits with harmonies, very atmospheric. Yeah, really good. This album, it's got the production, although it's a bit too bombastic now. It's got the playing by Sykes, it's got the vocals, it's got a fantastic rhythm section. Obviously the next album, it take ages over, the lineup would change. It had a shit album cover, it's not as good, and that was the end of that. And then John Sykes went solo, really releasing albums in Japan, and then did the brief Thin Lizzy kind of reunion thing he did for a few years, but he hasn't done anything playing live wise, I think, since 2526. He hasn't made an album, I think, for over 20 years. Now, he has released tracks online, but he was supposed to put an album, but the man remains an enigma, one of the lost geniuses of rock. I think this album, lyrics at time aside, shows the guy was a multi-talented guy. His vocals are really good, I think. Some people don't like him, but I think he's a really good singer. His riffing is stellar, his soloing stellar, even when it's not that tasteful. Everything's on 10. I'll just come to like a little theory about that. And yeah, this work, the Spellbound being the best Tizer Pantang album. You've got Fit Thunder and Lightning, you know, he managed to inject some into Lizzy and Whitesnake, you know, helping produce all that success. You know, the guy bought the Golden Touch. He was nearly an Aussie's band. I think at the time, you've got to remember John Sykes, when he joined the Tigers, there really wasn't any kind of modern British guitar heroes. You know, we had Van Halen come at the end of the 70s, Schenker had been around a while, and of course Randy Rhoads in 1980. But Sykes was the one guy, along with Gary Moore. Remember, Gary Moore had been around a while, to be like the new kid on the block, to me. And then by 83, when he did Lizzy, you know, there was only Viv Campbell really who came in. Now we've got an abundance of sort of British guitar players online in the YouTube universe, you know, a good half dozen with fantastic chops. But there really wasn't anyone at the time as British who would get these kind of gigs. So Sykes coming out, and obviously had fantastic looks, charisma, and the long blonde hair. He ticked the boxes. Looking at his past, it's interesting. He actually, I think he lived in Spain and London, but he did live in Blackpool. And for those of you from abroad, Blackpool's like the Las Vegas of the north of England, but really it's more like Reno or something, was where I describe it. It's quite kind of low rent, but it's got a brashness, and I think that kind of comes out in Sykes' playing. If you had to think about his playing style, it is very showy offy. It's very brash in a way that a lot of other players at that time, although they're brash, are not as brash as that. And I think that's quite interesting. He also actually quit guitar for a bit and then came back to it. So there's obviously a lot of talent, innate talent there. And I think people sort of forget as well how fast his alternate picking was and is, and so on. And obviously played with a Les Paul, but he used the whammy on these albums, on the 1987 and on this album. So a real enigma. But one of not my top 10 favourite players of all time, but certainly in my top kind of 15, 20. He's always a player who has bought the goods for me. Yeah, it'd be nice to hear him do something again, do an album, but in a weird way, it's kind of cool. He doesn't. It's kind of like he just kind of has that enigmatic strangeness. Who knows? But anyway, Blue Murder's album, A Special Place in My Heart. It's well worth checking out. It's quite a cult album. It's that time really when although these albums are expected to be big, they aren't, and then maybe the writing's on the wall that times are changing, and of course for a couple of years time things would change dramatically. Okay, so remember to share and subscribe if you enjoy these, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you very much.